What is your family's deepest, darkest secret? My father was the most caring man who loved his family deeply. He was the kind of man who would do anything to protect us. One day, when I was 6 years old, I came home with cuts on my legs from an incident with the babysitter. The babysitter had lost her temper and lashed out at me. Upon seeing my injuries, my father's face turned white with fury. Without saying a word, he grabbed his car keys and stormed out of the house. My mom, who didn't have a car, hurriedly grabbed my hand, and we caught a bus to the babysitter's house, hoping to prevent my father from doing something he would regret. When we arrived, the scene was chaotic. The police were already there, lights flashing, and an ambulance was parked out front. Neighbors had gathered, whispering and pointing. My father's car was parked haphazardly on the lawn. Inside, the living room was in shambles. Furniture was overturned, and some pieces were thrown out the window. My father had kicked in the front door and confronted the babysitter's husband, who tried to protect his wife. My father, consumed by rage, had physically overpowered him. The babysitter had locked herself in a room, terrified. Unable to reach her, my father started throwing furniture, venting his anger in any way he could. The police restrained my father and led him away. He spent 2 nights in jail. The officers understood his reaction but couldn't overlook his violent outburst. The babysitter was charged with child abuse, but the incident left a deep scar on our family. Despite the legal resolution, my father was never the same. He became quieter, more withdrawn, haunted by the guilt of his actions. He often sat alone, staring into the distance, as if replaying that day in his mind over and over. The loving man who once filled our home with laughter was now a shadow of his former self. My mother did her best to hold the family together, but the strain took its toll on her as well. Years later, the scars on my legs have faded, but the memory of that day remains vivid. The emotional scars on my family, however, are still raw. My father never fully recovered from that incident, and it changed the dynamic of our family forever. We all carry the weight of that day, a reminder of how a moment of rage can have lasting consequences.